Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers fell out of a monster truck made out of a tin can and onto your NES back in 1990. Rescue Rangers were already riding high on the popularity of their cartoon series by the same name, so it was an obvious decision to bring them home to the NES for us ADD-addled children that couldn't sit still long enough to watch an entire episode before we were off playing video games anyway. Rescue Rangers, the game, is also part of the legendary run of Capcom Disney games that they developed for the NES, and was one of their earliest releases. So does Rescue Rangers bring all of the fun and great gameplay of those later Capcom NES games? Or was this one thrown out as a money grab to us kids that just didn't know any better? Well, put away your favorite gadget fanfiction, because we're about to see if the Rescue Rangers can solve this mystery. Get the game up and running and you can choose to play as either Chip or Dale, and then get a brief cutscene about a missing kitten and how only the Rescue Rangers are awesome enough to take on such a harrowing case. Once you're into the game, you're met with a side-scrolling platformer you could probably see coming from a mile away before you even put the game in your NES. And while it may in fact look like a standard platformer, which it mostly is, the game does have a few things that makes it stand out. For one, Chip and Dale can't directly attack enemies, so sadly there's no chipmunk fisticuffs to be found here. And even jumping on top of enemies will always result in you losing a heart in the process. Instead, Chip and Dale can pick up the various boxes and crates that are scattered around each stage. Picking one up has them doing their best Mario 2 impression, as you can now fling what you picked up straight ahead or straight above you. Thankfully, there are boxes and crates lying around everywhere, so you're rarely left empty-handed. Most enemies go down in 1 or 2 hits, but it can still be intense trying to run and grab that next crate before you take damage. You can also use the crates as a one-hit shield if you duck while you're carrying one, which can really come in handy in the later stages. Besides the whole box flinging thing though, Chip and Dale really doesn't have much else of note, but that's okay since the game is still really fun to make your way through either by yourself or cooperatively with a friend. After you've mastered the art of crate throwing, you'll find that what Chip and Dale lack in innovative gameplay, it more than makes up for it with some really great stages. You navigate around the world using a Mario 3 style map that allows you to choose your path on your way to the main boss. Each stage has its own distinct look and feel, with most having unique obstacles in gameplay, like turning off water faucets, or using crates to flip switches. Still though, there are some things that occasionally disappoint about the stages, like when Gadget comes up before this stage and tells you that she's thrown in a boat for you to navigate the level with. So you spend the entire stage thinking you're gonna get this cool boat area, and all it ends up being is a tiny boat that you just jump in and ride for like 10 feet and jump off. Definitely not worth the build-up for just that. Each stage also comes with their own unique boss, and none are very hard at all. Just grab the red ball that's lying around and fling it at them, while you dodge whatever they're throwing at you. It's cool that each one is usually unique and does different stuff, but they're all usually so easy that you'll kill them before you even get a chance to appreciate it. Beat the boss and it's time to move on to the next level to rinse and repeat throughout the game's 11 or so stages. Admittedly, the game isn't very long, but it at least stays fun throughout and gets decently challenging toward the end, though you'll probably still wish there were more to it when those credits start rolling. Overall, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is a fun, quick playthrough. It may not live up to the later Capcom Disney games, including its own sequel that came out a few years later and is a much more polished and lengthier game. But its first outing is still really fun, and one of the better co-op games you can find on the NES. Rescue Rangers is personally my favorite of those old Capcom Disney games, but that's more due to nostalgia than actually comparing it to something like DuckTales. But I still think it's more than worth your time and money if you can find it somewhere for like $5 or less. There's definitely a ton of fun to be had with Rescue Rangers, just don't expect it to be much more of a challenge than sitting through one of the cartoon episodes.